Good afternoon, everybody. Not morning, not morning. We are real late today going live on the YouTube, but such as Monday. Every now and then you got those days, right? So this is one of them. I'm not at 100%. It was a long weekend and I'm fighting off a head cold and I'm gonna go home and go to bed after this. But it is the first week of December. I hope everyone had a fantastic Thanksgiving week. Hope it was restful and you got to see family. And if you wanted to be productive, you got to be productive. Those are my kind of favorite holidays. So whatever you needed, I hope that it was it. And we're excited to see you guys back in the studio this week. Everybody has class this week. It is a normal week for us. So if you are enrolled in classes, you're getting this email, you have class this week. So happy December, everybody. We're going to talk about kind of what's going on this month. So first off is those preschool classes. So this is a weird month for us just because it's the one month we don't really have an art history focus or even really an art focus. We do some step-by-step drawings because we think some of our kids are ready for that. But we've done dots and circles, we've done lines, we've done patterns, and this is just kind of a fun month. So there isn't anything quite as structured. Maybe we're just trying to put it all together. So we're going to read some books that deal with the holiday. We're going to read The Mitten by Jan Brett. We're going to read Mistletoe, and then we're going to read Snowy Day. The kids are going to work on a project that takes all 3 class periods. And so they'll start it this week and not finish it until the 3rd class in December. It's a beautiful collage mixed media landscape that uses colorful tissue paper and snow paint and little gemstones and glitter and sparkles. It's very, very winter holiday. I always think kind of reminds me of like Charlie Brown's Christmas trees, but the colorful ones, not the one he ends up taking home. So they'll work on that. We'll do part 1 or step 1 in this class period, and then they'll work on it all month. We're also going to set up brand new stations. We have some of my favorite stations from the year. They'll have a scented cloud dough, which is flour and baby oil, and some like thieves oil that makes it smell like Christmas. And then we have sugar cookie Play-Doh at one of the tables where the kids can practice making cookies. It's a Play-Doh that's scented like sugar cookies and has glitter. We'll get out the fake ovens. The kids always love it. That's their favorite. We do a build a snowman activity at one of the tables, which kind of reiterates some of the collage stuff that we learned from last month. And so lots of good stuff coming up in preschool classes. You guys meet, every single class meets the first 3 class days. So if you're in a Monday class, it's the first 3 Mondays. If you're in a Friday class, it's the first 3 Fridays. There's no weird off days coming up this month. Our multimedia classes. So it is watercolor month for multimedia, and our K through 3rd grade classes are going to be doing a new project for us. We're going to be making rainbow snails. And so it is a mix and match type thing. So you've got kind of a sluggish body. So picture like a chunky worm. And then a snail shell, which is a separate piece. And then you can mix and match them so they can switch out their shells. So they'll paint those 2 objects separately. We're actually going to paint, excuse me, a whole bunch of them. So every kiddo should make 4-ish snail bodies and 4-ish snail shells. And then they'll mix and match and pick their favorite. And that's the one that we'll mount using a foam spacer. So that has a little dimension to it. We'll mount it on the mat board and backer board for them to finish and take home. And the rest of the snail pieces they can either like collage in their journal, or they can just take them home as mix and match pieces. So I think it'll be a really sweet project. I'm excited to see what they'll do with it. My 4th and 5th graders and my homeschool kids are also doing watercolor month. This is a repeat project, but it's one that we haven't seen since 2019, maybe. I had to go back pretty far to find example pictures, but it is a watercolor flower project. So we'll look at some of the art of Georgia O'Keeffe. We'll also look at some art that is more contemporary. So like Carolyn Gavin is one of my favorites, and we'll also look at some Cindy Lane. She doesn't really do flowers, but she's a really great contemporary watercolorist out of Australia. So we'll look at some of their art. this week, so that they can get an idea of like this kind of loose flower, dropping in, glazing, watercolor techniques. They also, like the snail project, they will paint their parts separately. One of the struggles, challenges, frustrations with watercolor is it runs together when you don't want it to. Adults are frustrated with that, so we figure kids are too. And to help with that, we try to paint things as separately as possible and then put them together in a collage. Well, actually, one of the inspiration pieces in our slideshow this week, guys, my brain, lots of cold medicine. This week is some art by Cindy Lane, and she does book illustration where her watercolor pieces are separate. So she'll paint the background with watercolor, and then on a separate sheet of paper, she'll paint. The example we have is actually an ocean scene where a shark is eating a seal. And so then she paints the seal separately, and then she paints the shark separately. And then those elements get collaged together digitally and put into the illustration that she submits for her book. So it's really cool to see her process. So we're doing something similar, obviously not that ocean scene. We're doing flowers, but they'll paint the flowers separate from the base, basically, so that way things don't run together. That also helps that it's not quite so stressful if you have like a 4 flowers that look great, and then you go over here and you paint one and it just doesn't work out. And you're like, what do I do? If it was acrylics, we'd just paint over. If it was drawing, we would just erase it, but it's watercolors. What do we do? Is not stressful because we just won't cut that one out and use it. It's okay. So the kids will learn this week just some watercolor techniques and play with them. We'll look at that slideshow. We won't start the project this week, but we'll get a lot of good ideas and get to play with the medium. My 6th and 7th, my 8th through 12th, also watercolor month. Also going to be looking at a lot of inspiration and slideshow process videos from contemporary watercolorists who are kind enough to post that kind of stuff on Instagram so that they can really see on a close-up, high-def camera how the pigment moves through fluid, and what dropping in looks like and what glazing looks like and all of that. So we'll do a lot of that this week. The kids will get to play with that. And then my 6th, 7th, and 8th, 12th project this week, or this month, is character trading cards. So we've got watercolor paper. We use 140-pound cold pressed watercolor paper. So it's a pretty high quality watercolor paper. It's not your 90-pound, it's 140. We don't go all the way to 300, but 140 is good. So it's already cut down to trading card size. And they are going to paint snow people characters. And we're going to use the negative space. So they'll start with their background and paint that first. And by painting the background and leaving the foreground or the subject, right, leaving the negative space untouched, it will define that snow people shape. We're going to use some additives in the watercolor paints for this class to create kind of a sparkly snow background. We'll put salt on that wet watercolor. And then in subsequent weeks, we're going to add in some glazes, which is a term where you use sheer coats of watercolor over either dry watercolor or wet or plain paper. That's a glaze. So transparent, translucent, but with a very dry brush. So we'll use some glazing to add definition to the snow and to add shadows to our snow, and then all the details on our snow people. So lots of good stuff for them. They'll make a set of trading cards. We said anywhere from 4 to 12, depending on, how crazy they go making them. My creative explorations kiddos, they are starting new stations this month. And so we've got kind of a compilation of everything that's going on. Obviously the media focus, just like the multimedia kids, will have watercolors. They will also have the additives. So like our older kids have with the salt, and we can sprinkle it on and see what happens. Spoiler alert, you sprinkle salt on it, all the water and the pigment gets drawn to every salt granule. It kind of goes, and it sucks everything right next to that salt granule. And then when it dries, that pool of additional pigment next to a salt granule makes this like starburst effect. So around all the granules. So it's kind of cool. We'll also have isopropyl alcohol as an additive. That's another one. And then I forget what the others are, but different things that you can put. Plastic wrap is one that you can use with your watercolors to create texture. We're looking at our art history, which is Paul Klee. Our journal invitation is winter landscapes. We got some photographs of different winter landscapes. There's a lot of color in snowscapes, believe it or not. Our collaborative is a butcher paper with a tree on it, and we'll use collage techniques to decorate it. Our sensory is the scented cloud dough from the fundamentals. So it's this flour with baby oil that makes a compactable, really soft dough. And dough is a loose term. It takes a lot of pressure to make it pack together. It crumples very easily. Because of the oil in it, it's also has kind of a buttery texture to it. So flour and baby oil are the two main ingredients, and then it has thieves essential oil in there to give it that scent. And we've got different like bottle brush trees and little gemstones and winter village houses that have lights in them. It's super cute. So we'll have that for the sensory, and then the still life drawing is going to rotate. Our first week we'll probably do ornaments because that's what we have, and then after that we'll do evergreen boughs. In week 2, our drawing 101s and drawing 102 advanced realistics are going to be drawing real cut greens. So we don't have those in the studio here in week 1, but we will by week 2. So we'll probably swap it out and use it also in our creative explorations. All right, let's see here. I got to take a drink of water, see who's texting me, and there we go. Okay, make sure I'm not going to have to sub a class tonight. I'm like, oh, who's texting me? It's good. It's all good. All right, drawing 101. So this week in our 101 classes, we've got some novelty going on, and we're gonna draw on metals. So this is our aluminum tooling foil that uses a stylus or just a dull pencil on felt. It allows us to do a dimensional drawing. Can't remember if we've done this yet. We've drawn on printing foam, but we haven't drawn on metal. Remember, drawing 101 classes are all about novelty. So we really want to encourage kids to put that pencil in their hand and make marks. And so the more novel we can make it, the better. So we've got tooling foil for them to draw on, and we're gonna create patterns and designs and cut them out into ornaments. So those will get collaged into their journal as decorative ornaments, but made out of metal. So cool. Drawing 102 classes. So this is realistic first because it's the first one I could think of. Drawing 102 advanced realistic. They are also doing ornaments, but they are not going to get to do metal. They're going to be doing we've got a mixed media paper. We got to use something a little bit more heavy duty because for the first time we're going to break out the oil pastels. We've used chalk pastels, we haven't used oil. Oil pastels are pigment bound with an oil-based binder. They're really buttery. They're like better than crayons. Okay. So they've got like this crayon texture, but not wax. Right. So we can layer them just like we do chalk pastels. And when we layer them, they blend together. Additionally, we're going to use a little bit of baby oil after we've got our layers of color and use that with a Q-tip to blend it even more. When I was growing up, we used a solvent similar to oil painting. We would use like turpentine. Sometimes we would use linseed oil. It basically turns it into an oil painting as a way to bind this drawing medium into a paint. We're just going to use baby oil because of the VOCs. And so, but it'll be a fun experiment for them to try to get that shiny bauble represented with a really smooth, slick surface with these oil pastels. And again, we're using photo reference for that. I'm not sure if I mentioned that. My 102 illustrative, now this one I don't teach, so I have to go and look it up. They're going to be doing a perspective lesson. Everything this month is about interior rooms. And so we're gonna really try to set the scene in an interior. We're gonna review 1-point and 2-point perspective and draw the inside of the room. We've got some fun handouts to look at that show the background of setting the scene. So I know, like, thinking off the top of my head, I know there's one that's like a snapshot from The Simpsons, and it shows 1-point and 2-point perspective in the background, right? So that's going to be their lesson for this week, and then we'll move on to furnishings and setting furniture in and all sorts of things for setting the scene in an interior room as the month goes on. My 103. So 103 illustrative is doing a 3-panel comics. We have to learn how to create a panel, a lot of math, a lot of rulers, creating a panel. Their challenge is to show the movement and passage of time between two characters. But it has to be silent. So we have to see an interaction and show passage of time, but there are no words. So that's their challenge. For a lot of the kids, because of Christmas, we'll try to finish this project in 3 weeks. They may not get to coloring. They may choose to stay black and white with this one. I know a lot of them last month, at least in Miss Grace's Liberty class, chose to stay just inking instead of moving into color. So just totally cool with a kind of a crazy month. 103 Advanced Realistic. You guys are starting a new project as well. We're going to be looking at the art of MC Escher and drawing staircases. So the goal is to draw a staircase in an interesting composition as realistically as possible that displays values and also makes sense for the rules of linear perspective. So lots of good stuff happening in 103. Couple housekeeping things, and then I'm gonna go home and take a nap. Here we go. Don't forget to sign up for next semester. There is about 110 of you that haven't signed up yet. If you're not coming back, it's okay. You don't have to apologize to me. Life is busy. I get it. I don't need you to justify it to me. I just want, you might get more reminders because I don't want anyone to think that they're good to go when they're not. So don't forget to sign up. If you haven't yet, or if you're like, I don't know, just reach out. I'll look it up. Or you can go into your Sawyer account and look at your upcoming classes. But nobody's enrollment carries over. So if you're signed up and you haven't done anything, like an action item needed to be done for you to sign up, if you haven't done that, make sure you do that. We've got signs and handouts and things going to the kids as well, and I'll still miss people. So make sure you sign up. And then open studios are coming up at the end of this month. You guys, if it hadn't been the day that it was, I was going to have all this information in the slideshow, and I was going to have the sign-up sheet ready, but it just didn't happen. So it's going to be the same as we did in November. I just haven't had a chance to do it. The dates are the 27th and the 30th. That's a Friday after Christmas and a Monday after Christmas, right? So those are those 2 dates. And they are in the daytime because we figure most of our kids are on winter break, and you need something for them to do. If I'm wrong, let me know, but that's what we're gonna do. These are our art and PJs and hot cocoa days, and so we invite you to come in your pajamas and drink hot chocolate with us and make art. Can be great. And if you can't come because you're traveling, you don't have to make it up. It works just like the Thanksgiving open studios, okay? All right. Oh, and I should mention those are drawing and multimedia kids. So those are our kids who have 4 classes every month. Okay. All right. I think that is it, you guys. That's my notes. I know it was a really fast one. I usually talk a lot more, but I really can't handle it today. There's no more voice to be had. So I will talk more at you next week. I hope everybody has a wonderful first week of December. If you need anything from me, please reach out and let me know. And I will see you in the studio soon.